going on, sports rehab experts? Today we got the rib cage model out. We're going to be talking about that annoying, uncomfortable pain that you get somewhere in this vicinity right here behind or inside of your scapula, or sometimes feels underneath of your scapula, just around this area here. We're going to be talking about why you get that discomfort and some often unconsidered reasons why that pain is not going away for you, and that pain continues to be an annoyance lingering on and something that you've been dealing with constantly day to day while you're working. Now, because likely many of us now working at computers are often sitting in a slouch posture, and we're on our phone, we're sitting in a slouch posture. We're told that we need to constantly extend our thoracic spine, open up our chest. And while that may be true to a certain extent, it's important to understand that posture isn't a static thing. It doesn't stay still. And the best posture is actually the next posture. And this has been proven through research. A lot of people just haven't pieced this together, unfortunately, in the rehabilitation world. If you look at posture, and we look at postural sway in individuals, you just get a force plate and you have someone stand on that force plate. And if you ever ask somebody to stand completely, perfectly still, motionless, you can't do it because it's something called postural sway. It's been well documented. There's a certain degree of postural sway that is expected in an individual. That's because we're never actually staying still. So that's why when I say posture is not meant to be static, we're meant to be moving. That's why the best posture is the next posture. So just because you're slouched, it doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing. But you do need to be able to get out of that position and be able to do the opposite as well too. So as long as you can move yourself from either end of the spectrum, you're going to be okay. Now, taking this into treatment a little bit further, this is where everybody kind of goes wrong. Everybody says you need to do more thoracic extension. They're just focused on the spine here. But if you look at all this surface area we have over here, there's a lot of other joints around that area, around that real estate. We have all these other joints that are associated with the rib cage. Furthermore, we got this big old scapula, this big old chicken wing that sits right on top of it too. Why not focus on those other two things as well as your thoracic spine? Furthermore, we breathe many, many times throughout the day. We breathe more than we actually kind of consciously think about actually moving. So that is going to be the driver of the thoracic spine here, is what your rib cage does. And you can kind of see here is as someone inhales and they expand, there's going to be a little bit more extension that is driven. And as someone exhales and brings the rib cage down, there's going to be a little bit more flexion that occurs too, or gapping that happens on the backside. So breathing is going to actually influence the thoracic spine to a certain extent. So we need to also be focused on what the rib cage is doing when we're performing a particular activity. Now, here's the caveat to that, and this is what is often forgotten about and considered to be a null factor by some, unfortunately. They just tell you need to get stronger, which for a lot of people, general physical preparedness and strength is an important thing, but can you blame somebody for not being strong when it hurts when they try to strengthen those muscles? Question to ask yourself. So anyways, when we're talking about the scapula here, the scapula sits on back of the rib cage. So again, if the rib cage is kind of moving out away from the body, their center of mass is shifting forward, you can already see how that can become problematic. And you'll see that in a lot of individuals. I mean, if you just lay on your back and you see these lower ribs being very, very prominent moving forward, or you have a hard time just letting your back lay flat on the ground without bending your knees, you're probably in some type of extension already. So that rib cage is moving away from your scapula. That can become an issue for some. Furthermore, the scapula moves in this direction. It's called internal and external rotation of your scapula joint on the thoracic spine and on the thoracic rib cage. So the scapula can move in a lot of different positions. It's essentially a free-floating bone. It's one of the most mobile bones in our body and one of the most mobile joints in our body. So it can move in all sorts of different directions, but one of them is internal and external rotation, or scapular anteversion and retroversion. And what you can see with that is how that can potentially impact compression or expansion or stretching or contraction of a muscle. I'm going to show you a little bit different angle. The back side, you can still see my hand here. And if our scapula is tilted into external rotation, there's going to be more compression on the back. Internal rotation, that medial scap border is actually going to move away from the spine. Again, compression, expansion, compression, expansion. Depending on the position of that scapula in the transverse plane, that is going to influence why somebody has pain here. Just like the position of the thoracic spine moving away from the scapula is going to influence somebody's pain right here. So there's a lot more to this than just extending your back or flexing your back or just doing some rows or stretches in the front of your chest. Now those might be useful and helpful for some, and getting some massages might be helpful for some too. But if you're constantly experiencing pain and it comes back over and over again, you feel like you're stuck in this perpetual cycle, then there's something deeper that we have to take a look at. And these are the considerations that you have to start thinking about. And it's a lot more in depth than what we can go over in a 10-minute YouTube video. The importance of this is just to give you clarity that there are other solutions out there. If you've tried all these different stretches or strengthening exercises or thoracic extension exercises, there are other solutions for you. You just need to find somebody who knows what those solutions are and who can think a little bit differently or outside the box from what conventional thought or conventional wisdom has told you in the past. So if you're a fitness individual, someone who loves to stay active, mobile, and is tired of this annoyance in their back, feel free to email me at greg@sportsrehabexpert.com, and more than happy to set up a session with you to talk about ways that we can affect this in a positive manner so that you're not dealing with this on a constant basis. If you're a fitness professional learning to learn more about how you can treat this in your clients, then click the link in our description or head over to sportsrehabexpert.com, where we have the Sports Rehab Expert Fast Track course or the Sports Rehab Expert certification. Both of those courses will be very, very useful for you to better help address this with your clients. I want to thank you again for tuning in. Hopefully you found this video a little bit more helpful and a little bit more clarity behind why that annoying pain occurs, and we'll be back at you next week. We'll talk soon.